What's good, everybody? Welcome into Inside the Green Room with Danny Green. I'm Harrison Sanford. Try to be a podcast that doesn't have too many cliches, but a good cliche is applicable here. The best two words in sports are on the way. Game 7. The Indiana Pacers gave the Oklahoma City Thunder the business in game number 6. Frankly, it was almost, yes, it's an NBA Finals game, so it's still watchable, but almost relatively unwatchable towards the end of the third quarter, showing how potent that Indiana Pacers team could be. They went up by 30 with that Ben Shepherd three-pointer. Before we get into what we predict for game number 7, before we get into all of that, let's look back to basically where I want to get to, Danny, is going into game 6. You're a man who's won 3 NBA finals. You played in 4? You played in 4 finals overall.
Yes.
I'm curious, particularly when you won, what changed going into those series clinching games that maybe plagued the Oklahoma City Thunder? When you know where we going to where's the party if we win tomorrow? Where's the dinner if we win tomorrow? Like that. Can that get into play? Can that maybe take away some of your focus? Because as I looked at the Thunder, yes, the Pacers played well, but the Pacers only had 2 turnovers, like in the first half. That to me was like, where's OKC at? That's what they do.
No, unbelievable game by Indiana. I knew it was a night for them when I saw Hallie hit a left-hand floater. I think that's what I saw. They were hitting on all angles, all cylinders, defensively all over the court. And TJ McConnell, can't give him enough flowers, man. Just the energy he had in the building. But like you said, the second half pretty much was, I wouldn't say unwatchable, but it wasn't something that you felt like you were going to miss anything. They were up 25-30 most of that second half. But I said, when you talk about it or you ask the question, it brought me back to Toronto. Because, San Antonio, we won 4-1. And we were locked in. We were so, I wouldn't say upset, but we had such a drive and such a chip on our shoulder from losing to Miami the year prior. We were not comfortable at any moment or thinking about celebration. It was, we got to get this done. Celebration comes way after. And in the bubble, it didn't matter. There was no real celebration. A different world. It was a different world. And we had a team full of vets there as well. And we were not comfortable at any moment of like, all right, the series is for sure over, because Miami was unbelievable. Jimmy was unbelievable. But it took me back to Toronto. We were up 3-1, and obviously we're coming back home for game 5.
I remember that.
You could just see the whole shift of energy of the city, the building, the film organization. Everybody's bringing everybody in town, everybody to the game for that game, and you could already see like celebration setup. And I'm like, this is a mistake. I could already feel it. I'm like, I didn't like it. I didn't like the feel of it at all. And I was like, also because I knew we were a young team and it doesn't happen that easy for it. Like, we always make things more difficult than it has to be. And I was like, this is not a good sign for us anyway to start for game 5. And I think OKC, I'm going to say they were in that realm, but you could tell the young-mindedness of them having in the back of their mind, like, oh, we have a game 7. They weren't playing with a sense of urgency as if this was their last game. It was like, oh, we got another one at the crib. They weren't thinking of celebration, I don't think, in that sense, but they were definitely more so thinking like, we got another one. So you just see the sense of urgency. And once they get down by like double digits, 10 points, 15 points, 12 points, a lot of hero ball. And they start being the team to turn over and take bad shots. So it got ugly for them. It was just one of those games. It was terrible. It was not a good one. Just scrap it, flush it. Game 7. And so we've had great basketball up to this point. Only game 2 and game 6 where it was like pretty much a blowout. And even 2 was closer than game 6 and could have been closer what the score had shown. But outside of those 2, we had great basketball. And I expect this game 7 to be something like that. But game 6 was kind of a wash for OKC. And I think it was more from a young mental standpoint, but also just because Indiana came out playing unbelievable. They were balling, bro. Got to give them a lot of credit.
So as we look at the entirety of the series, Danny, it's interesting because you and I had the same thoughts going into the series, even though as the series is played out, both of those thoughts don't necessarily seem both of those thoughts are still true, even though they're different. And I'll explain. one, we said that this series was going to be a basketball fans series. Like, you only want to watch this series if you are a hooper. And hopefully by now the casual fan wants to watch, but as a hoop fan, this has been damn good. Number two, I think we both felt like OKC was gonna win, was easily gonna win this series, even though it was gonna be good. Even though it was gonna be good basketball,
we thought it'd still win, but close games, but they'd still win those games. Maybe
maybe a 5-game, maybe OKC in 5, but every game is decided in the last 5 minutes or something like that.
And with under 10 points, most of them we thought would be like 6 or 7 point games. And I said I had OKC in 6. I knew Indiana would get at least 2. And I said also OKC, I knew they were young and they weren't that ready yet to just put a team away, even if they are that much better than them. It was going to take them an extra game or two. But yes, the 2 statements that we made to start the series seem to be held true, other than our prediction of the games. So, I mean, it still could be wrong depending on how this game 7 goes, because we both had OKC and Indiana could shock the world. So, and I'm supposed to be covering the game. I don't know if they win that game in that building. I don't know if I'm going to be prepared to speak on how Indiana had done it. I'll probably be in disbelief.
So, I want to get into Game 7. We can definitely get into Game 7, but I think what's interesting too, as we look back, going into Game 6 and all the stuff, because we thought OKC was going to be this monster in this series, and because they won Game 5 so decidedly, you started to hear all the things, Danny. Jalen Williams is the next coming of Scottie Pippen. And I found it interesting, after Game 6, Tyrese Halliburton said, we can't get caught up in the narratives. We can't get caught up in what a win would do for my legacy, what a win what a loss would mean for this team, XYZ. And I think that's pointed because in this day and age, and even back when you won the title in 2019 with the Raptors, there was all of this talk in between games. But I think the world we live in, Danny, it feels like it's a lot. It's more and more
oversaturated. It's a lot.
Oversaturated now. So the amount of people talking about Tyrese Halliburton's legacy between Game 6 and Game 7, or between Game 5 and Game 6, Jalen Williams' legacy, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I say that because I know LeBron used to go 0 dark 30. Bro, you gotta go underground. It feels like you gotta go underground for Game 7.
You gotta go underground just for, if you want to be locked in for the playoffs, you gotta kind of really not watch sports TV or be on social media. You have to really just be with your family, lock into your TV series or lock into your film sessions, and cancel out the outside noise. Because one game, you're the greatest of all time. Next game, you're terrible. You're not showing up. You shouldn't play. Tyrese Halliburton, he didn't look ready. He should sit down. Like what? Yes, he had a bad game. The calf strain, I'm sure, is a thing, but he definitely played in the game. You have to give your superstar a chance. And, Rick Carlisle for not making the sub, because TJ was so good in Game 5.
And you're like, yo, bro, what you want me to do? This is Tyrese Halliburton here. What
are you talking about?
I can't win.
And I will say, I got to give Tyrese a lot of flowers as well. He played well, but he also played, I wouldn't say he played a smart, just going to say restricted, but a game with bound, he wasn't on the ball as much.
He played within boundaries.
He played within boundaries. He let TJ run it. He let other guys run it. He threw the ball ahead, and he shot when he was supposed to shoot, of course. But he didn't put himself in as much action. And I'm sure OKC will look to put him in action defensively. But offensively, he kind of took a backseat. And they were still able to win, him doing that, having 14 points, knock down a couple threes, but pretty much just kick ahead, make some action, get some in the paint, and let the game kind of come to him. And now going on the road, it's got to be a different story for him. And he better get that calf right, because they're going to need him to be super, super ultra aggressive. I don't see TJ McConnell having another game like that. He had back-to-back games where he just was so impactful on the floor, his energy and just what he's done scoring-wise too. I don't know if he'll do that 3 times in a row. So they're going to need Tyrese to be Tyrese.
Yes, we can stick with the Pacers point here, but I want to talk about OKC, but just because they did lose Game 7, we got to talk about some adjustments for Game 7. They lost Game 6, so I want to talk about adjustments for Game 7. Again, OKC comes into the series as the favorite. We expect them to win, one of the biggest favorites in NBA Finals history. And we go into the series, Danny, and Mark Daigneault decides to use the starting lineup with Cason Wallace taking out Isaiah Hartenstein.
Mm-hmm.
They lose game one. They lose game two.
They
lose game one. They win game two. And then all of a sudden, and then lose game three. And then now game four, he's like, you know what? I'm switching it up. I'm going to go to my normal starting lineup, Isaiah Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren. And it works in game four. They come back and win the game. Game five, they win. But you see in the halftime of game number 5, he went with Alex Caruso at the beginning of the second half. And yesterday, at the beginning of the second half in game 6, he goes with Alex Caruso. And while I'm not 100% sure, Danny, that
that's the move.
that one move is more right than the other. But what I do know for sure, OKC is not comfortable. And because if they were comfortable, they wouldn't be doing all of this switching. And one of it could be a credit to the Pacers and how how their depth just really impacts how other team tries to play. Or it could just be honestly like, what's the word I'm looking for? You know, when you have like a fear of like when you have too many options or you start second guessing things that have worked for you maybe it's a little bit of self-sabotage. I don't know, but like it feels like OKC, regardless of how great their record was, regardless of how great they've been, maybe this is what happens when you are a young team, Danny, that you just overthink what you have going on.
I'm a credit to both. I have to give Indiana a lot of credit because they're hard to prepare for. But also, Mark Daigneault, he's got to go with what he sees as flow. And Alex Caruso's had big games for them those other games. Now, last night, not so much. But those other games, he kept them in it or, won them damn near the game. So game 4, they survived that. I'm surprised they survived that. Game 5 was a little bit different. I didn't expect them to win game 4 at all, the way that it was going. SGA being fatigued and just how they were playing on the road and only making 3 threes and only taking like 17 or 18 threes for the game. And last night, the same. They only shot 30 of them, and they made 8, which was still better than their previous game in game 5, to win. So, but yes, I do think they are overthinking it a little bit. But they have an appropriate fear because of how good Indiana is. And I think he's just trying to see how the flow of the game is going and also seeing where he can get energy in that second half and maybe not have bad starts. I think their third quarters, he's probably looking at that third quarter and is like, all right, I want to make sure that we have a good start in that third quarter. Game 7 is going to be interesting. I'm wondering what adjustments he's going to make, who's going to start in the second half, or even I'm thinking he's going to go with the regular starting lineup. I'm just wondering how he's going to adapt and adjust to. But I also, you got to give credit to OKC. They're so deep too, especially at home. Mm-hmm. They have guys. Obviously, the role players play better at home. They get more shots. They get better looks. They make more shots. Aaron Wiggins will come alive. Cason Wallace will hit some shots. Alex Caruso, like Isaiah Joe, like all those guys are very good. And you got to kind of figure out the best way to keep them in flow, in rhythm, and be able to help impact the game. Because I feel like on the road, they're not even able to even put in on the plate because there's just so much ISO. Like it's such a tough crowd. I feel like the rotation tightens up, and the fact that it becomes ISO ball, my turn, your turn, one-on-one hero ball when they get tight and they've been down on the road. So there's a lot of things to digest there as a young team, as a young coach, and ultimately playing against a fucking juggernaut like the Indiana Pacers.
Isn't that wild that you just said that?
Juggernaut. It's crazy.
Juggernaut of the Indiana
Pacers. Sentence didn't sound right. It didn't sound right.
It's nuts, but they come at you in waves, and I think that's part of the reason why OKC has just been. They don't stand as tall as a 68-win team you think would be. Like they just, it's one of those things where you would just assume this is what we do. You're gonna have to adjust to us, and the Pacers are like, what we do is better, or what we do is gonna make you switch up your game. So, I'm fascinated by everything that's happened in this series. Looking forward to game number 7. Let's go to some quick predictions. All right, game number 7. Give me your 3 keys to victory.
I think it's going to be the same, man. It's what it's always been for most of the series, and I think a lot of it's been predicted or predicated off of who wins the turnover game, who has less turnovers, and I think it has to go with the rebound game. Like, this is a gutted out game. Like, 7 is a gutted out game. Like, you got to win the 50-50 battle. That's getting all the loose balls, rebounding, steals, deflections. All that is going to come into play because you don't know who's going to step up, who's going to make shots.
It's an IQ and hustle game.
100%. And of course, you hope your stars show up. You hope Shea and J-Dub show up. And you expect on the other side, they're going to have at least 2 or 3 guys show up for them. And if you can get 2 or 3 others involved to where they can make an impact, if Isaiah Joe hits 2 or 3 threes, or Aaron Wiggins and Casey Wallace hits 2 each, that can help, sway. But ultimately, the narrative for me has been like the team that's turned the ball over the less, or who's been most effective defensively, swarming. OKC's won the games that they've been active. Their identity defensively of getting deflection. That game for them in Game 5 was decided mostly in that fourth quarter where Tyrese Halliburton had a couple of turnovers, Nembhard had a couple of turnovers. That's when it got away from them. If Indiana takes care of the ball, they're going to be in good shape. Same with OKC. So I think it comes down to who takes care of the ball the best, and defensively, obviously rebounding, but defensively, who's going to be the most active and showing their identity on that end of the floor.
You played in only one Game 7 in the NBA Finals. That was 2013 against the Heat. Obviously, that coming off the heels of Game 6 and the shot hit by Ray Allen. So the situation is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Because, Indiana's coming off of winning a Game 6 at home. Back when you were in the finals, it was 2-3-2. I love what they're doing a lot better now. 2-2-1-1-1.
1-1-1.
What does it feel like to play in a Game 7 in the NBA Finals? Like, can you describe what that actually feels like internally?
I can do the best I can. It was tough for us because you said the situation and the narrative of that detrimental, like losing that Game 6 was it was a tough one, bro. It was a heartbroken moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, to try to bounce back from that was the hardest battle. We actually played hard as shit in Game 7. Like, we played our ass off. We busted our ass. We got after things. They just, I think, might have been Shane Battier hit 7-3. Like, they had guys different times throughout the series, whether it was Mike Miller or James Jones. Boom, I think it was Shane Battier game in Game 7 where you knew one of them to get hot. He hit 7 threes. But going into it was like, it was like, this is the end all be. Like, we got to make this one game. This one game. We have one game left to win. The whole season decided about one game, and it's we got to scratch claw and get it all. However we can get it done, we got to get it done. We got to figure it out.
But what? Okay, yeah, yes, that was the narrative going into the game. That's what we did. Like, when I say we, I'm talking about us, the media.
The media.
You, the player. What did it feel? What did it feel like? Or are you saying that it was so hard to get away from the narrative that were being put upon you guys as a team?
Definitely that part. And it said it was also so hard to get away from the mindset or the heartbreak of Game 6 for us. The hardest battle for us was to try to forget Game 6. It's like, we got to, there's a whole new series now. It's one game. Don't care about what happened before, but as human nature,
I don't want to care, but damn, I care.
Bro, it's human nature. It's like, you can't not think about what just happened. Mind you, said we were in Miami because it was 2-3-2. We stayed the last 2 games there, and I don't think there was 2 days in between.
You can't even catch a flight to get your mind over it.
It wasn't even, and I don't think there was 2 days in between for the last game. I think it was 1 day in between, if I'm not mistaken. So it was a quicker turnaround, and it was like we didn't have a lot of time to recover mentally from Game 6.
It's probably a Friday, Sunday.
So that made it the toughest part, man. But all in all, I think we knew Pop did a great job, and our veterans, Manu, Timmy, Tony, did a great job of kind of, I wouldn't say wiping our mind of it, but letting us know, like, well, we have another opportunity here, and we are capable of beating them on their home floor. We've done it before. We did it in Game 1. We stole one, and we can do it again. This is a good team, but anything can happen. Obviously, we knew the history of winning on the road in Game 7, not only in the finals, but it was very slim against it. But we were like, we could rewrite history. We can make history. And we believed in ourselves. And I feel like we had a shot. It just came down to the end and said a couple of those guys got hot at different moments. But they did a great job of trying to keep us focused on the one game at hand and not thinking about the previous games.
All right, let's do quick predictions before we get out of here. We'll do Game 7, and we'll also do Finals MVP, and I'll also do Obscure MVP. So here's how I picture Game 7 going down. I envision a blitz early at some point from OKC within that somewhere between the first and midway through the first quarter through Tyrese Halliburton's return in the second quarter, somewhere around there. There's going to be a burst, and I think OKC is going to be able to operate at keep them at a puncher's distance. There's going to be a couple of fights, a couple of quasi comebacks, half comebacks, semi comebacks from the Indiana Pacers. But at the end of the day, I think OKC ends up winning by about anywhere around 6 to 9 points with some free throws in the end. 6 to 10 points. I think that's how they end up winning the game. And I say that because I do believe that intensity will allow OKC to play just a higher level of defense, force turnovers. Turnovers turns into points. Tyrese Halliburton not being as aggressive with the ball, I think is going to hurt them. I'm not going to trust the other ball handlers. Even though TJ McConnell has played great, we'll see how great he could be on the road in the Game 7 with the season on the line and the OKC defenders hounding him, hounding them hard, whatever it might be. Game MVP. Well, series MVP, I think, goes to Shea. He's been the most consistent scorer, even though Jalen Williams has had some outbursts, i.e. the 40-point game number 5. Game MVP, though, I think is going to go to Lou Dort. I think Lou Dort is one of the swing guys in this series that we haven't really talked about enough. He's been playing great defense on Tyrese Halliburton, and we keep on talking about what's wrong with Tyrese Halliburton. Maybe Lou Dort is part of what's wrong with Tyrese Halliburton, and because of the defensive pressure that he could put on Halliburton, and it just makes his presence on the court that much more valuable. I think he has one of those games like he had in game 4 in the Nuggets series where he just hits 3 threes in the second half to keep him around. I think Lou Dort has a stretch where he hits like 2 or 3 threes that really kind of put the game away. Yes, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will be the MVP. Yes, him and Jalen Williams will be looked at as one of the best two-man combinations in the NBA. But if you look at specifically a Game 7 MVP, wouldn't surprise me if Lou Dort ends up being that guy. So OKC in 7, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander MVP, key series or obscure Game 7 MVP, Lou Dort. What you got?
I'm almost fully aligned with you. I'm right there with you. I've noticed a trend for OKC. And on the road, they've actually started out really well, especially in first quarter. They get up by like good 9 to 10 points, and then Indiana comes back and they end up just kind of losing it. But at home, they've been starting off slow. I expect the first quarter to be a little ugly, Game 7 jitters for both sides. And OKC trying to find a rhythm. But yes, I expect the punch, not a crazy flurry of a punch, but I see OKC going up double digits, staying ahead probably 7 to 9 points for most of the game. Maybe getting up to 12, but I'm with you. I think they win this game probably about 6 or 7 points. I think it doesn't go much higher or much lower than that, and probably stays under probably 9, probably 6, between 6 and 9 points. I'm with you on that. SGA, Finals MVP, but the game MVP, and it has to be, I think, because I think he's going to be playing a lot of minutes and they're expecting a lot out of him. Alex Caruso. He's had pivotal games throughout the series. Last game, didn't play well. I think he had a donut.
He was a minus 30 in the last game, Game 6.
It's between him and I like the Lou Dort one too. But I think it's between him and Dort. Obviously, I think Aaron Wiggins, Casey Wallace will put some little imprint, like in Isaiah Joe will somehow help a little bit with some plays, whether it's a steal, turnover, this or knock down a couple threes. And they'll get some help from the others more at home. But I think this is going to be the Alex Caruso game, and he's going to get a lot of flowers, and they're going to show why. They gave him $80 million, why he's all defensive team. He's going to be active, and he's going to have a bounce back game. For them to win, he's going to have a really big bounce back game from Game 6 and play way better in Game 7.
Dark horse MVP for me if the Indiana Pacers win, and I don't even think it should be a dark horse, but we haven't really talked about him. Pascal Siakam. He's been great so far this series, and yes,
most consistent. He's been the most consistent.
Most consistent, and we did see him play a guard Jalen Williams a lot more in Game 6 than he had previously. That's a big change because Jalen Williams has obviously found something when he's going against Aaron Nesmith. With that being said, we do gotta go. Best believe we will be back on Monday recapping the 7-game series of the NBA Finals. We don't know who's going to be the champion, but it looks like we have a good series finale on the way. Can't wait to break that down. And also, who knows? Maybe by Monday morning, we'll know what team Kevin Durant is going to be on as well. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you find us on all things social. Danny, tell them what to do.
Read, rate, subscribe, review. Peace.